My name is Rudy. Today we'll be discussing the many connections between the 47th President of the United States, regrettably Donald Trump, and Jeffrey Epstein, one of the most prolific human traffickers of all time. Within this video, I want to make clear that I am not asserting that Donald Trump knew or had anything to do with Epstein's operation, if you will. But I will be going through all of the connections that these two share, with evidence ranging from concrete to speculative or anecdotal. Although I cannot put an exact pin on their origin, Donald Trump told New York Magazine in 2002 that he had known Epstein for 15 years and that he was a terrific guy. So working with that, assuming it's true, that means they've been in each other's spheres since at least 1987, right? That's a long time. It's almost 2 decades by the time the Epstein controversy arose. Both Trump and Epstein owned homes in Palm Beach, Florida, which is nothing out of the ordinary for people as rich as they are. That within itself is not suspicious, but it does become subject of speculation later on, so I'll wait till we get there. Trump buying Mar-a-Lago back in 1985 before turning it into the Mar-a-Lago Club, and Epstein buying El Brillo property in 1990. Trump and Epstein would often party together and were videotaped and photographed together on numerous occasions. Although Epstein attended many events at Mar-a-Lago, he was never a paying member and attended for free. Epstein even claimed that he introduced Trump to his now wife Melania, though that story has changed since 2004, when Epstein's deviance was exposed. Trump and Epstein's friendship wasn't the last, however, as they supposedly had a falling out due to a piece of Palm Beach real estate, ironically named, and I'm going to butcher this, L'Amati, which translates to House of Friendship in French. So these two knew each other since 1987. They lived down the street. They were partying together. They were traveling together. They had, I don't believe they had too much business together, although eventually it was business that tore them apart. They were photographed and recorded many times throughout the years, laughing, drinking, talking about women, and even to the point where Donald Trump brought his family, children, around Jeffrey Epstein. Which to me is a point as to why one could probably make the argument that Trump didn't know about his operation, although that's not definitive. Now that we've discussed their relationship and closeness, it's time that we start getting into territory that could be described as nothing less than suspicious. Interestingly enough, when asked about whether he would declassify certain files and documents, his answer was a bit interesting.
You're right.
Some people think that one way to build trust is to declassify things that everyone's talking about. I know you talked earlier about, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. So if you were president, would you declassify, you can answer yes or no to these.
Yeah.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah. I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would.
Now, in 2024, both the MLK and JFK files have been released, but coincidentally, the Epstein files are nowhere to be seen. Maybe they were a bit phony. It has been recorded that Trump flew on board Epstein's private jet 7 times between 1993 and 1997. As you can see, he traveled with a host of people, including Epstein, Maxwell, his family, and a host of other people. I do know people who are aware of the flight log, supporters of his, that say that it doesn't mean much, and I can agree and disagree. It doesn't look good, but it's not evidence to say that he was at Epstein's island. Most of his flights were back and forth between places like New York and Washington. Earlier, I mentioned that Trump claimed back in 2002 to have known Epstein for 15 years, and that he was a terrific guy. But he also mentioned, and I quote, "He's a lot of fun to be with," he said. "It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life." End quote. Knowing what we know now, it's hard not to speculate on whether or not Trump was aware of his buddy's degeneracy, but this statement seems to imply that he was. But, that's not for me to say. Moving forward, Trump also told the press back in 2020, when asked about Ghislaine Maxwell when she was being locked up, he says, "I just wish her well, frankly."
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, and a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. And I know you've talked in the past about Prince Andrew, and you've criticized Bill Clinton's behavior. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well, whatever it is. I don't know the situation with Prince Andrew. Just don't know. Not aware of it.
At this time, Ghislaine Maxwell had already been fully exposed, and personally, I wouldn't wish anyone of that nature well. I know I'm going to butcher her name, but Joanna Sjoberg, one of Epstein's victims who was deposed and testified against Ghislaine Maxwell, had mentioned being taken to one of Trump's casinos. Pairing the idea, though, of young girls being recruited at Mar-a-Lago, that's just the one we know about, with the idea of Trump owning Miss USA, Miss Teen USA, and Miss Universe pageants was unnerving all of its own. But wait, there's more. Take a listen to this recording where he describes walking into dressing rooms and these pageants where the women are standing there with no clothes and describing them as incredible looking women.
They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
Our first introduction to him was when we were at the dress rehearsal and half naked changing into our bikinis.
Dixon was 18 at the time and says watching Trump storm into a dressing room was shocking.
I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant and therefore I'm inspecting it.
Now, as much as I can go on talking about Donald Trump's promiscuity with women and lack of regard for consent, that will be subject of another video, potentially the next one for now. So let's get back on track. As if being best buds with the likes of Epstein for almost 2 decades wasn't already a bad look, let's take you to the not-so-distant future of 2024. You are Donald Trump, running to be the 47th president of the United States of America, trying to hit your second term. You're campaigning for days straight, weeks straight. Your plane was having technical difficulties, so you have to land. You charter a plane and make multiple campaign stops. I mean, you worked hard that day. You are feeling good about your chances. You're feeling good about yourself. Next thing you know, you turn on that beautiful fake news, and the radical left-wing media is stringing you up, reporting that you've been flying around all day in one of your old pal Jeff's planes. Fuck. Right? That's probably how Donald Trump felt. Putting you in his shoes there for a second. As this happened during the 2024 campaign cycle, made many campaign stops, worked all day, and the entire time he was above one of, he was in one of Jeff's old planes. Now, more seriously, I do truly believe that this one is more of a coincidence, but I thought I'd throw this in as it is Epstein adjacent, it is related. But I think it's quite funny. I think probably someone at the charter service thought that that would be hilarious. Probably weren't a fan. You know, the campaign, more seriously, had this to say about the situation. It is a different plane from another former Epstein-owned aircraft dubbed the Lolita Express. That was the center of a sex trafficking case filed against him before his 2019 suicide. The late financier sold that plane in 2017, and it has since been destroyed. They also said that the campaign has no awareness that the charter plane had been owned by Mr. Epstein, or had no awareness that the charter plane had been owned by Mr. Epstein. A spokesperson for the Trump campaign reported that, or told reporters that, we heard about the former owner through the media. He said that the former Epstein plane was only used for one day. That being said, I think that between almost 20 years of knowing each other and flying on planes together and photographs with family together and both having this promiscuous sort of aura about them, owning these pageants and having people being recruited at his Mar-a-Lago estate and living right down the street from it's all just a little too close for comfort, right? And this isn't to say, as I said before, that he had anything to do with it, but it doesn't look good, right? Michael Wolff was also an individual who, throughout the entirety of the 2016 Trump campaign, essentially served as a fly on the wall in the White House, talking to all the people in and out, and was there firsthand to witness the chaos of the first Trump presidency. In this case, he had got clearance to sit down and talk with Epstein about a variety of things, where they did end up talking about Trump and Trump's White House at one point, meaning that Epstein still somehow had some knowledge of how things were going on the inside, or at least was being hyperbolic, I think I would say, in terms of how Trump would use people. Basically, either he was using an anecdote, or he was actually, using these names in place of other names to describe situations that Trump had been in before, or things that he had done before. I'd like to end this video off by going over Michael Wolff's Epstein tapes, where he interviewed Epstein in 2017.
Just tell me about his intelligence.
That's Michael Wolff speaking.
With respect to real estate deals, really, he's a salesman. He knows real estate really well. Anything else but that, he knows nothing. No.
I would agree and disagree with this one. On one end, yes, he does know a lot about real estate and hardly much else. And he also said, hey, he's a salesman. And that's true. That's what he does. He's good at manipulating people. He's good at putting out narratives. He's good at never taking a fucking loss. He just bulldozes through like a bull in a china shop. Anyhow.
No history, no strategy. As I started to say about executive function, the executive function says, and it's strange because construction, by definition, is just that. First you have the foundation, you have the steels going up, what stage? But in terms of his anything but real estate.
Interestingly enough, as it is, I'm currently reading a book called Lucky Loser, which details the lives of Donald Trump's parents, his father, how he amassed the massive fortune and wealth that he did, and as well as the uprise of Donald Trump and his many failures in the business sector. But speaking of that, his father was genuinely a talented builder before he started exploiting government funds. He did work hard to begin the amassment of his fortune. he was known for his precision. He was known for his attention to detail. All of that Donald took and threw out the window.
He can't figure out if I fire Bannon, what happens tomorrow.
So cause and effect, that has no relationship.
Obviously.
In analytic intelligence.
No.
Now, what's this thing about that functionally he can't read, or he doesn't read, or
He doesn't know. He certainly can't read a balance sheet, which is funny. Has no idea. He doesn't read. He reads page 6. So he's not functionally illiterate. But his reading comprehension is anything complicated. He's very well.
now what's other than he has he has a sense of humor. He can be funny.
He's right. Funny.
What else recommends him?
I wouldn't say delightful.
His ability to sell.
There it is.
He is charming. He is able to convince people. It's very much like Clinton. Both Bill and Donald have the ability to go over to a fat, ugly woman, say, "You are the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." So he tells everybody what they want to hear. And it's charming. And I'm telling you that I know 4 or 5 people who have recently seen him. I just realized we're talking where he built the UN Plaza Trump Tower, just in that desert. I was going to take the top floor. I went with Donald to see it. And it was, again, what you can pay me if that was it's a $13 million transaction. You can pay me 11, you reported the 13 that you give 2 to Waller or something. It's always. So the idea that he is bad, dirty business, he's a construction person in New York City, an electrician in the county. I don't know what they're thinking. He's not even a horrible human being. In Jeffrey's book, he does nasty things to his best friends' wives. Anyone who first tries to gain your trust and then uses it to do bad things. That's how it goes.
All right. So that's my first video of Epstein talking about his relationship with Trump. Talking about Trump a little bit. Probably playing this out of order, so I'll go for the next one.
So how do you know this?
That was close to straight.
So I need the dump. Just give me Donald.
I was his closest friend for 10 years. I mean, do you just say that? I don't. The evidence surely seems to point in that direction. But I don't go around randomly saying that I was somebody's best friend for a decade. And talking about them in this amount of detail that rings so parallel to reality, and may it not be true, or it not have at least some semblance of truth within it, and that's what we're talking about here. So
First, it's fun. So you probably know he had a scalp reduction. You see that?
I did not.
The same male pattern movement that we all have. He had his scalp moved and hysterical. Donald's office, as you know, he made that. He used to be on the phone as that fake PR person. I also found it funny. I was sitting there listening to the guys from the Post talk, and Donald would say, he's a great guy. I loved working with him. And I sit there going, this is just amazing. But he'd say, Michael, come on, let's go to the office.
No.
And he'd say, tell me, what's it like to be there? He'd say, you like having sex with your wife? How often do you? He'd say, it's great. Seriously, Michael, how often do we have sex? Don't you want the trouble? You and I can go upstairs, or tomorrow come over. There's this girl's coming in from Los Angeles, part of the
so sleazy.
So come over 3 o'clock. You're gonna have a great time. I promise you, Michael. It's just me and you. You're gonna have a great time. Be up here at 3 o'clock. We can go upstairs. The whole time, Victoria's been on the phone, listening, setting it up, because he wants a story. So he has because as the avoid conversation. Come on, you must have had a better wife, right? I said, yes. Tell me about it. And the wife's on the speakerphone listening to Donald and said, I think you're really hot. And I know you think you're a guy. Michael is like the end of the world, the best guy on earth, will be married to. You're wrong. Just listen to the next 20 minutes. And go with the office, set you up.
All right, and then here's the last clip that I have.
I think we have a snippet from one of the conversations that I recorded with Epstein, and I think this was in a restaurant in 2017.
His people fight each other.
Right.
And then have outsiders. He sort of poisons the well outside. He will tell 10 people Bannon's a scumbag, and Priest is not doing a good job, and Kelly has a big mouth. And what do you think? Jamie Dimon says that you're a problem, and I shouldn't keep you. And I spoke to Carl Icahn, and Carl thinks I need a new spokesperson. So Kelly, even though I hired Kellyanne's husband, Kellyanne's just too much of a wild card. And then he tells Bannon, I really want to keep you, but Kellyanne hates you.
I have more than dozens.
So those were Michael Wolff's interviews with Jeffrey Epstein back in 2017 before his inevitable suicide during the Trump administration, might I add, which is also an interesting set of circumstances for anyone who doesn't believe that Epstein killed himself, which is a very popular theory. It just so happened to be that the person leading the government at that time was the one and only Donald Trump, who may or may not have not wanted certain things to come out about him. So, with that being said, Michael Wolff uploads to the Daily Beast. He has a podcast called Fire and Fury, as well as a book called Fire and Fury, which I'm reading right now, about his time as a fly on the wall in the Trump White House. So, with all that done and said, I would like to take this moment to give my opinion on matters. I try to stay as closely directed with the evidence that I have without forming an opinion one way or another, and this is going to be the point where I do that. So I personally think that Donald Trump is a very dangerous and unhinged man. He is currently destroying our country in a multitude of ways, from trade wars to threatening to invade sovereign nations. He has a history of, being extremely impulsive, being extremely predatory, and, I don't think that that's leading anywhere good. I personally think that he had at least some type of knowledge of what Epstein was doing, whether or not he was involved. If you're a MAGA person, I'd like to take this moment to talk directly to you, right? Talk to me. Don't just sit there and blindly insult me. Don't just repeat campaign slogans and talking points from, popular right-wing media people. Bring me a fact. Bring me an original thought. Don't just tell me I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm wrong. You know, there seems to be some sort of aversion towards facts on the MAGA side of the spectrum, and I don't really seem to understand that. I thought that you guys were the facts versus feelings people, personally, but now it seems to be the other way around. So don't bring me your vibes, don't bring me your feelings, tell me why I'm wrong, and show me, prove it to me. I really would love to engage with you as a human being. I want to engage with you fairly, openly, and, you know, give you an opportunity to speak your truth, but it has to be out of good faith. If you're not coming to me in good faith, I'm gonna respond reciprocating the same energy you bring me, and honestly, that's just not helpful for anybody. So, that being said, anyone who's still sticking around, thank you so much for being here, for watching this video. It is my first video that I've ever made, so of course it's gonna be a bit crude. I'm gonna try and do better in the future. My next video, I'm assuming, is probably going to be about the sexual exploits of Donald Trump, his predatory behavior towards women, lack of regard for consent, you know, some quotes that he's made on that. Everyone knows the famous "grab her by the pussy" quote. So we'll go through that in the future. Don't know how long that's going to take, so don't hold your breath. Anyhow, thank you so much, and see you guys around.